Hey everybody, Jake and Gino coming at you with another Financial Freedom Friday. G-Daddy, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jake. This is one of those videos that I really thought long and hard about because to be successful in life, we need to make decisions, right? You need to make a choice. And for everyone out there who's a procrastinator, I've been there, paralysis analysis, I've been there. Choosing not to do something is a choice, right? We're overwhelmed. And I've been blessed to have an amazing partner who's on the other side of the screen there, that when I have that analysis paralysis, I can go to him and I can say, Jake, what should we do? And when you have that accountability, you pull it together, it makes life so much easier. But if you're on an island all by yourself, like I was years ago, didn't have a partner, I use this framework to come up with these decisions. So I'm going to paint a picture for you thinking about hats. The first one is the white hat. It's the information gathering. You're starting out and you're looking at a problem. This is where you start collecting information. You're gathering data. You're gathering the facts, just low level. Take your emotions out of it. This is just a fact finding. I can talk about a deal. Jake and I were looking at a deal. The first part is you're getting the information. You're getting the median income of the area you're investing in. You're getting the market. You're getting the population, the job growth. You're gathering all the facts to see if this is a viable option.
I'm excited about this one because I know we're going to take this beyond the Ben Franklin strategy today. So I'm all ears, Gina, because and I have the same benefits. As honestly, it goes both ways. Partnerships are a two-way street, and that's why having that accountability partner is so important. Because look, at the end of the day, you get emotionally involved in something, you're not thinking clearly. Higher emotions, as yes. My partner likes to say, leads to lower intelligence, and sometimes you just need to come down to make a sound decision, and reach across, talk to your partner there, and then come up with the low ego, the objective call versus where your emotions may be.
That's right. I love that. Number two is the yellow hat. Now, the yellow hat, why is it yellow? Think of the sun. When we think of pictures. So the white hat, clear, right? You're just gathering facts. You got a sheet of paper. Think about that. You're starting to write the facts down. The yellow hat, all of a sudden, it's the optimism. You're identifying the positives. And that's what I like about it. All right, we're looking at a deal. Hey, job growth is great. Population's coming in. This is a newer asset. It's cash flowing really well. You're really positive about it because you know what? When you do have higher emotions, if they're positive higher emotions, there's a solution. If you have negative emotions, which a lot of people have, all of a sudden there's no opportunity. They're only looking at the negatives. But this part right now, the yellow hat, you're looking at, wow, this deal looks like a good deal right now. So let me start continuing to gather, facts and write down the positives of the deal.
That's always the point where that little voice in the back of your head says, what's going on here? Something's off, right?
Yes. Well, listen, after the yellow hat number two, it's the black hat. Why? All of a sudden, you got the positives. Now, what are the negatives? Well, you know what? This deal is overpriced. The financing may be too hard. There may be a lot of competition. Wow, there's a sinkhole in the property. Never dealt that before. There's a lot of mold on the property. What happens if you don't address it? That's why you need to be objective. You need to look at the positives and the negatives. I can give you a quick example of how when I used this. When I was moving down to Florida a few years ago, I did this. I gathered all the facts. So why am I leaving New York? Higher taxes, crappier weather, just the economy wasn't as good as Florida. And then I looked at the positives, right? I mean, there's a lot of positives, but then I also had to look at the negatives. I was uprooting my family. I was taking them away from their cousins and their friends. I was taking them out of their school environment, right? I was coming down here of the unknown, never been down here before, didn't have any friends myself. So it can all be sunshine and rainbows, but if you don't have the reality check of looking at the black hat, you may, fall into some problems. You may not be analyzing the opportunity objectively.
Is that a joke? Isn't it the Sunshine State?
It is, dude. I love the Sunshine State, right? Man, number four, it's the red hat. Think of red. Think of your heart, emotions. Let your emotions come out, right? Because the best salesmen, what they do is they sell with emotions, but they close with logic. So we need to get emotional, me and my wife, about this move to coming down to Florida. I really wanted to hash it out. I wanted to think of, hey, I am 500 feet from the beach down here. Can you imagine in March, we're going to be going to the beach instead of shoveling snow, right? But at the same time, think about it.
I've been there. I get it.
Right? Because it feels great. Because if you're just thinking about it but put some emotion to it. And at the same time, you know what? I just can't get in the car and go visit my mom, or I can't go visit my brother down the street where he's living. So there's positive emotions and negative emotions. And, feel it in your bones, feel what makes it right. For me, I felt positive about coming down here. There was a lot of negativity, like I said, up in the family. But at the end of the day, when we moved down here and I was able to play tennis in February, I was able to go for a walk whenever I wanted to. It was a sunshine state, like Jake said. The lifestyle was a little bit slower. All those are positive emotions, definitely outweigh the negative emotions.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta make that bet and just pull the trigger, right?
Yep. And the next one, the green hat, creativity. Look at it analytically and emotionally. How can you come in a way that you haven't considered? Just look at other ways to consider the problem, right? And this is really important, especially when you're underwriting a deal or you're investing in an asset. How can you come at it from another angle? I'll give you a perfect example. Owner financing, being creative. If a deal doesn't work on the front end, this may be high level for some people, but think about it. If you're looking at a deal and you're analyzing a deal, how do you become creative with it? You can do seller financing, right? You can actually find another partner. Maybe there's someone else that can help you. Maybe you can do a syndication where you raise money. Being creative. Maybe you can ask the seller, hey, your price is too high. How about you give me a seller's credit at closing? Hey, broker, you're selling the property. You know what? How about you take a note? You finance part of your commission, whatever that may look like. That green hat, think of green grass. You're strolling through the green grass. How are ways you can make it to become creative? For us, when we were making that move down to Florida, it was hard. We needed to become creative. We needed to figure out how to get down here and, moving 2 cars, moving 6 kids, moving all that furniture. We had to think of creative ways to do that. And it was a struggle for us, but eventually made it happen.
Gino, I think the key here, because you have such a great example, and especially at this time when so many people are migrating, all throughout the country. What about the person that is looking at this and saying, I hear what you're saying, and especially let's talk about the move specifically, but they have limiting beliefs. How does that person overcome those limiting beliefs? Because really, it's great to say, like, I know the weather's better, but I just can't. Like, and where does that come from? Because some people will just say, well, I just can't do it. And I know that you've experienced this. So talk about that.
I love that. So what I actually ended up doing was we came down to Florida and spent a month down here before we moved. It was a year before we decided to make the move. I came down here and lived here for actually 3 months. I had the ability to do that. If you can't do that, I would say take a week off, come down with your family, wherever you're deciding to move, and live there for a week, live there for 2 weeks, go down there, live it. Feel the emotions of being there. And when I came down here, I actually rented a house on the ocean for a month. And then I rented a house in a golf course for 2 months. And we lived here. The kids loved it. We rented a golf cart while we were here. So the kids enjoyed it. I went fishing after work. I mean, I was just doing things that I never done up in New York. And I was experiencing the lifestyle. And if you can't do it, what I would say to you is find people who have done it. Find groups who have done it. And that's what I ended up doing. So every time I speak to people, nothing is easy in life. That's why this decision-making, this framework is very important, because these are really big, lifelong decisions that will affect you forever. But, now that we're going through the pandemic, I look back, if I hadn't gone through it and I hadn't moved from New York, I would have been crushed, because I had the restaurant there. Everything would have been shut down. And it's not a process that's going to happen overnight. Like I said, I started thinking about this in February of 2014 because we had this cyclone bomb weather. It was so cold in the winter. From that February,
where did they come up with these names, for crying out loud?
Marketing, great marketing, right? And I remember sitting in the kitchen on my knees with the hairdryer, defrosting the pipes.
Sorry.
I mean, can you imagine wet all over the place? I'm with a hairdryer because it was so cold. The pipes were freezing in the kitchen. And I said, when I was on my knees at that point, I made a decision. I said, how am I going to get out of there? And I started working about it, started gathering the facts, started thinking about it. And everyone out there, we all have these limiting beliefs. I had huge limiting beliefs. I'm like, I can't leave my restaurant. I've been here for 20 years. But what did I do? I started contacting people who have made the move, who are thinking about making the move. I contacted people down in Florida, started analyzing where I can go to live. Is it up in North Florida? Is it South Florida? Because my mom had a condo in South Florida. I loved it down there, but it was just a little bit too warm all year long, and it was just really crowded. And North Florida had a more of a family-friendly feel. So that's what I was thinking. I was getting all that objective data, and then I put my emotions to it. I went there for the month, and then what happens is the next year, what we ended up doing, I rented a house for a month in the city of St. Augustine to see exactly where I wanted to live. Did I want to live in the little city, or did I want to live out in the beach area? I ended up leaving out in the beach area. But you can see it's not a snap judgment. It's not one of those things you make by the seat of your pants. People think that's what, that's how you make decisions. And no, all of the successful business owners and all the successful entrepreneurs, what they do is they go through this whole entire checklist and think of it objectively, think of it rationally, gather facts, then put their emotions to it, then sit on it. A lot of us pray about it. We think about it. We meditate on it. And then all of a sudden we come up with the decision. And then we stick with that decision, right or wrong. And, I'm going to tell you one thing. If it did not work out down here, I could always pack my bags and go back up north. That's what people think. They think it's like a zero-sum game. You lose because you made that decision. I could have always said, you know what? I don't like it down here. Ultimately, let me go back up north. But if I didn't try, I would regret it for the rest of my life. The last one, Jake, real quick, blue hat, management mode, go through the process. Usually companies start here. That's where they start for a meeting. This is blue. Think of the blue ocean strategy. Think of the blue sky, right? Now it's all about managing it, right? You're going through the entire process of what that looks like. And for me, going through it, renting the U-Haul, I had to take a train from Lorton, Virginia to come down. I had to hook up 2 cars there. I had to get all my bags and all my luggage there. That's the final process, is that blue hat. So, I hope we've laid all of these 6 steps out, and you can think of it as a process. Don't rush your decisions, but then again, don't have the procrastination where I don't know where to go next. Assess the facts, get some positive feedback, get some negative feedback, then all of a sudden start having that rational decision, and then just go ahead and pull the trigger.
Here's my final, parting words here. If Gino can do it with 6 kids as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, moving across the country, and this applies to any decision that or thing that you want in life. Look at yourself, in the mirror objectively. Are you having any limiting beliefs? And I'm calling my dad out on this one, because my dad, we always talk about him moving to Tennessee, but he's like, "Oh, I got the house here." I'm like, okay. And so it's like, look, this is real. And I know many people struggle with this. And look, it's just one example we're giving, but we all struggle with this. So Dad, I'm calling you out on this one. All right. Expect to see you down here soon. But Gino, thanks so much for today.
Love that. Everyone, next week, be on the lookout for 4 phases of financial freedom. Mr. Stenziano, have a great weekend. Everybody, let's go out there and let's make it happen.